We're just going to get to it. We got 15 seconds and we're going to get to it. Got 10 seconds. We're about to get into this power, this fire. Okay, let's go. They miss it, they miss it. Now look, the topic, proclaim this to the nations. Prepare for war. Now what's the problem? What is the overriding problem that we have right now as black people? The problem we have as black people, we are not operating with a constant state of war. Tony, thank you for that 25 kicking it off. We as a people, we are not operating in the constant mind frame of war. But the system is constantly acting. It is a constant action from the system, a mind frame of war. So they done rocked us to sleep because some of us believe that we are not in war. Most of us believe we are not in war. But I'm here to tell you, black man, black woman, we are in war. And we've always been in war. Think about that. And you're the only ones that don't know that. You think we're not in no war. We have always been in a war. Right? The remnants of those wars is the unjust legal system, the killings of our people. Those are just remnants of this war. Evidence that the war is here. Evidence that the war is happening in real time. Right? In the system, their advantage is because they're always thinking with a mind frame of war. Right? To conquer. Right? To conquer. They're always thinking with a mind frame of war. You understand that? So look, as we keep going forward, you hit that like button. I know some of you guys are in the room new. Hit that like button. Because we need to break this thing on down. Because after this daily fire, a lot of you guys are going to wake up. A lot of you guys are going to wake up. Because we need to be woken up right now. You see, when you're in a constant state and your mind is in a constant state of war, of warfare, there's an urgency about everything. You have an urgency, an intensity about everything. Let me explain it to you. So when I'm in these rooms with a lot of these political figures and law enforcement figures, and most of these people are white people, they don't have what we have to have as we represent our communities in those conversations, an urgency, right? The reason why they don't have that sense of urgency is because their communities are not constantly impacted by the violence that is perpetrated upon black and brown people, right? So that's why it is necessary for people of color to be in those rooms while people are making decisions of how they're going to affect or help brown and black people in the urban community, right? Because you as a person unattached to the issues, unattached to the constant problems that we're having in the community, you're not qualified to make a decision, right? Because you're not constantly attached. You're not really qualified to make a decision upon black and brown people's situation. Because you're coming from a place of comfort. Because your communities are not constantly, every day, every moment, terrorized by an unjust system. But we are. So there's an urgency that I have. I get that urgency because I'm aware that I am in war. And it's not the kind of war that you suppose. It's not like we're going to go arm ourselves with guns and go perpetrate violence upon people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you are in a war and you realize you're in a war, you're in a constant state of warfare so that you are constantly strategizing. All right? You are constantly strategizing every movement, and not only your own movement, but the opposition's movement. Right? Because you're in a state of war. There is a saying that goes, the courage of one's enemy does one honor. And I've said this in one of my other videos before. The courage of your enemy does you honor. Right? Because in order for you to strategize how to overcome whatever the wiles of that enemy, his movements, you got to learn the enemy. You got to learn about him. You got to study up on him, right? You got to read up on him. You got to study him. Watch his behaviors. Watch his movements. I remember when I was working in Beverly Hills in the late 90s. And it was great because it gave me an opportunity to study how wealthy people maneuver, study what they're reading, study how they think. So while I was down there working in Beverly Hills at Neiman Marcus, it was just an observation time for me to learn, right? To study the behavior of wealthy people, right? Their mannerisms, their movements, why they thought the way that they thought. It was my job to study them. And that's what I did. They became a lesson. And I began to study and master their thought processes and why they think a certain kind of way. Right? Exactly the same thing I do with the system. I have to study this system, learn this system, because the system is the opposition. The system has been the enemy of our people for over 400 years. So it's incumbent upon me and you to study them. And there is a fire and an encouragement inside of me to do so, because I'm aware that we are in a constant state of warfare, of war. So our minds needs to be in a constant state of warfare. And when your mind is in a constant state of warfare, you are constantly strategizing. But you can't strategize against something that you haven't learned. When you are in war and you are strategizing against your opposition, you have to learn them and study them. We as black people have not done enough of that. On the contrary, the system has done that to us. They have studied us, right? Because they're in a constant state of warfare, their minds, how to keep us submitted, right? And it plays out in every area of life, through the banking, through schools, the criminal justice system, policing. All that is strategically set up as war against you, right? The equipments of war against you. Tony D, thank you for that $40, fam. The equipments that they use for war against you. But because you don't have this constant feeling that you are in a state of war, you've become lax. And you haven't done your job. Everybody that is in war, that's trying to win the war, studies the opponent, studies the opposition. But they're so clever is that they trick you into believing that the opposition is your brother, is your neighbor, is another black and brown person. They've tricked you into believing that that is your opposition. So what do? You study them. You learn about their hood. You learn about where they may be at. And I've talked on this before, and I need to bring this back up again. Because you have been convinced that your enemy is John from another block around the corner, or Philip from the CD, or from Long Beach, or from the South End, or from Watts, or from Brooklyn, or from Queens, or from Houston, or the Third Ward. You have been convinced that your enemy is your brother. So, I said earlier, the courage of one's enemy does him honor. the courage of one's enemy. Because in order for you to compete with your enemy, you have to learn him, right? Outsmart him, outthink him, right? So what you have done is you've invested all your time in trying to outsmart and outthink your brother that lives 2 streets over from you, who's accessible to you, right? It doesn't really take any brilliance for you to know how to go get Johnny. When you know Johnny gonna be at his mom's house, you know the limited places Johnny's gonna be. So you wait outside for Johnny, and it's easy to get Johnny. So you haven't grown or developed any genius to get Johnny, because Johnny is not really your enemy, and Johnny's not the real threat. But this system you refuse to learn because you're intimidated by this system. This system intimidates you. So you have not chosen to do the same work that you put in to get Johnny, then how to overcome this system. Who has been the ultimate enemy over 400 years in black and brown people's lives? Black and brown people. So you look at somebody that looks like you, and you put all your energy on learning him. And it's not too much to learn because he's a lot like you. But you won't put no energy in learning this system because it's your job to learn this system. The reason why you don't think it's your job is because you don't think you're in war. You think you're in war against Johnny or Peter or Bubba or whoever your neighbor is, whoever your dude on the other block is, whoever the dude is in another hood. All your focus is on him, right? But the system is in a constant state of warfare, thought, right? And they are united in keeping you suppressed. You are divided as a people, we, right? And understanding who our real true enemy is. We're divided. And somebody said to me way back, we was having a conversation, and they were kind of militant and said, man, we need to pick up arms. You know, we need to have some guns. And I told him, I've said this a couple of times in Daily Fire, but it bears repeating. I would never send a people to war fractured by self-hate. I would never send a people to war fractured by self-hate. Because that old saying, a house divided against itself cannot stand. But the system is united in your oppression. They're united. And they continue to feed you division, and you buy it. We've bought that. Because you think your enemy is willing and not this system. You refuse to do the real work to learn this system. Well, I continued to do the real work because I had a father that let me know what I'm letting you know right now. Yeah. Logan, thank you for that 5. And from a teenager, I have always kept a sense of warfare, understanding that me and my people, us, are in a sense in a state of war. That's never left me. Even to this day, it's never left me. I am not ignorant concerning the enemy's devices, but you have been, because you have gotten comfortable. You've gotten comfortable. And because you've gotten comfortable, you stop producing the necessary genius in order to strategize how to defeat your true enemy. Because you won't do any research. Because you won't study that system. And you won't learn that system. Because you have been watered down. Because you think that you're not in war. I'm here to tell you that you have never been out of war from the first time that you were brought to this country. I remember a guy asked me when I was talking to him, he says, Andre, why are you so intense? He didn't understand that I'm in a constant state of war. Like I said, not being violent, no, strategizing. Everywhere I go, my mind is first strategizing. Every communication that I involve myself with other people, I'm about strategy. I'm thinking strategy because I've done my homework to learn the system and know how they operate. I know them well. I know what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. So I don't put too much energy when they do something that I already expect them to do. I'm already over here playing chess 10 steps ahead, already realizing that was going to take place, so I don't have to put any unproductive energy in what I already know they're going to do. What we have done as a people, if we have reacted to what we already have evidence of the action that they're going to take, right? We already should know, based upon 400 years of studying the behavior of this system, you should already know exactly what they will and will not do. It is supposed to be your advantage. And because I know I operate with that advantage. So if something goes down and the system does something like this, I don't put any energy in that because I already know how they're going to react or respond. I'm already over here with my own response down the line because I've already known how this action's going to be. So whenever I'm entangling myself in system matters, I'm going in with a consciousness, with an awareness, and the ability that I had to have studied this system and know what I'm dealing with. And every time I'm in interaction with these folks with strategy and with intensity. Why? Because there is an urgency that I continue to have, because that urgency is because my community is in a constant state of oppression, right? A constant state of being killed, oppressed, disenfranchised. And I carry that with me so that I will be current in real time expressing the right now needs of a people that's going through something that these people are only talking about, but we're living every day. I'm trying to break all that down so that I can make you understand that you as a black man and woman, you should never be in a place of comfort. Your place, now listen, I'm not talking about, listen to me when I say that. Listen to me when I explain that to you when I say you shouldn't be in a place of comfort. Your state of warfare should be your comfort. Right? Your state of warfare in your mind should be the most comforted place that you could be. Anywhere outside of that consciousness that you are constantly in a state of war, you can be penetrated and defeated. Right? So that is my comfort. That is my comfort. Remember, the courage of one's enemy does him honor. So I am comforted in my state of consciousness that I am in a war. And I've never lost that since I was a teenager and my dad gave that to me. And I've kept that with me. And it has constantly given me that urgency inside of me. Do you understand? There always is an urgency inside of me because I could never disconnect myself from the urgent needs of the community, the urgent needs that my people are experiencing right now. I don't go into a situation without understanding there's an urgent need, right? So let me backtrack a little bit to get you caught up. You have to be in a state of warfare and consciously understand that you're in war. Right? And then you must study the opposition, which is the system, and learn the system. That is your homework. That is what you should be doing every day. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then, once you've studied and learned the opposition, that gives you the ability to strategize, because you have to have strategy. But if you don't learn your opposition, if you don't think you're in war, you'll never feel that urgency to do any of these things. Which is why a lot of our people out there are dead. They're dead. They're not woke. They don't have any realization. When people say woke, there is no conscious realization of the reality of the now, of what's going on right now. They are oblivious to what's going on right now because you don't think you're in war. There is a disposition of an individual or individuals or a people that realize that they are in war. And we've lost that. We've lost that. There is too much of this false comfort going around and have been around in our communities. Way too much, right? There is no sense of urgency in our communities any longer. We have come to the place where we have just allowed things to go as they go. Because you don't realize that you're in war. Right? Individuals that's in war have a certain disposition. And there is an urgency for that person. They are watchful. They're watching everything around them, everything that's going on. They're watching things come. They're watching things go to get an advantage and strategize in order for that to be so. Do you understand what I'm saying? All I'm saying today is that as I continually look online, I'm very discouraged. I rarely watch TV, maybe the news, but if I do, it's very discouraging. Because the people out there, our people, are out there acting as if everything is okay. Right? Like, if you're in war, there are certain things, priorities, that are brought to the forefront that become more important than anything else when you're in war. There are certain things that have higher priority than anything else, which is why I know that most of us don't believe that we're in war, because we have not elevated certain things, right? We have not elevated certain important things that need to be elevated when you are in war. Because you think that you're okay, and because you are oblivious to the state that our people are in, you have elevated entertainment above all things. Above everything, entertainment is elevated. Because I'm in a constant state of war, what is elevated to me is the studying and the mastery of this system. There is nothing elevated higher than the mastery of learning the opposition and how it works, how it thinks, how it moves, going forward and backwards and sideways, up and down. There is nothing more important than mastering the opposition, the enemy, which is the system. And every black man and woman should have that same train of thought. This is how far we are. This is how far away we are, right, from our victory. This is how far away we are. You hear what I said? I said the clear reason and the evidence that black and brown people don't realize that they're in a war is because we have elevated entertainment and things of that nature above things in a war that's necessary to elevate above all of that. And that is the mastery of learning the opposition so that we can develop strategies how to overcome it. That is nowhere in people's minds on the most part. Nowhere, right? Who has elevated learning the system above all things? Who's done that? Who have done that? Exactly. But every day we promote amongst us and in the world entertainment. This is how far we are away from where our mindsets are supposed to be in order to be quote unquote woke, right? Aware. But we're not. I am. I am. And I'm going to guarantee you this. Individuals that are aware and that have developed mastery over this system will be the last people standing. Because when the shit hit the fan, that entertainment is not going to teach you how to maneuver. No. Clubbing, drinking, sex, all those things that you have elevated because you don't think that you're in a war, all those things will fail you. You will not know how to move. You will be isolated and stopped in your tracks. And all the things that you valued and elevated will become nothing. Nothing. But those who have maintained a sense of understanding that they are in war have done their homework and they are prepared and they are operating, manifesting through strategy how to conquer and overcome the system. But you're not there. You're so unaware. You're so unaware. My question to you is, what part do you play in warfare? You are so far off, you don't even have a position to play in this war because you don't think you're in war. Okay, Shakira, how do I send another notification out? Somebody's telling me that the notification didn't go out and I need to send it out. I know it didn't, but I'm not sure how to send another notification out. So how you send another notification out? Yeah, I know. People are telling me they didn't get it. Share. Let me see. Create post. Let me see. Share. Create post. Post. So I just posted something. Yeah, I don't know why I did that. They know we giving some real powerful information, and sometimes I think, this is system stuff too, right? So I just posted it again on my YouTube. Hopefully, it'll come up. So, hold on, you guys. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna get back in this. You ain't going over this. Just hold on. Hold on. Let me see it went up there. Hold on. That's right. The remnant, baby. I know they scared, but we gonna keep giving them this fire, though, baby. We gonna keep giving them this fire. It's all good, though. Okay, I think people are getting it now because I sent another thing out. So anyway, yeah, they want to keep us from the daily fire because they don't want me. Good, good. I've been absent for the last couple of weeks, you guys, because first my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, she died, And then on New Year's, they killed a guy named Yosia Falatogo. He's a Samoan, and so his family came and asked for our help. And so, of course, we're gonna be down for all people, and we're over there fighting for them. So let me get back. Thank you, family. So let me get back to what I was expressing to you about understanding that we're in a war. Because most times when people say we're in a war, they're always thinking about weapons, physical weapons or something like that. Grandson is doing much better, right? I'm talking about here. This is the greatest weapon here. This mind, this great black genius is the greatest weapon. So, all over, like I said, we are diminished because there's no sense of urgency in our people. We become extremely lax. We have elevated entertainment. The one thing I like about some of these armies and smaller nations is that every single body, both men, boys, and girls, have to go through the army. When they're a small nation, everybody gets that training. So we're about 40-something million African American people in this country, and I just don't think that one of us should ever lose that sense of urgency in our mind and awareness that we are constantly in a war. It is those things that put that fire in you, and it makes you real watchful. It keeps you on top of your business, right? When you're lax, you have a tendency to let things go by or not even be aware of those things when they come. But when you have that sense of urgency, that sense of understanding that you are in war, you are constantly on alert. You are constantly in a state of watchfulness, being up on your, on your P's and Q's, watching everything, right? And because we have lost that sense of urgency, because we don't think that we are in war anymore, we've been diminished. But the system is always operating with a sense of warfare. They always are, not only in this country, but in other countries around the world. The system is constantly operating with this sense of war. So they're constantly trying to be up on things, constantly watchful, watching their back, trying to strategize how to stay in first place, how to stay at the head. But we are lax, so we want to party. You know what I'm saying? We want to get high and smoke weed and drugs and just have sex, and that's all we concerned with. Like we are captive people, But a people that know they ain't in, that they are in war, they'll never ever are satisfied with just that. I'm not satisfied because we are subjugated, but we can have some entertainment. Subjugated, but we could have sex. Subjugated, but we could do drugs. So everything is subjugated because everything we do is on their terms because they are in this constant state of warfare, right? So you've achieved this, right? And they over here watching over all this that you've achieved, right? And you think that that's cool. That's because they've humbled you. That's because they took the fight out of you, right? You don't want any more. So you just have settled with what they've given you. You don't think you qualified to be in the battle, right? So you've been humbled, marginalized, emasculated. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. What do you say? We're in a war on this poverty. Yeah, but I'm trying to tell you that all that is understandable. The only reason why we continue to produce poverty after poverty is because we don't have a sense of urgency, right? Our minds we don't have that war state of mind inside of us. One thing war makes you do is it makes you come together. A lot of times when this country has been attacked, perfect illustration, 9/11, was nobody think about black, white, or anything. Everybody was thinking about they were just Americans. And other time that the country has gone to war, the country comes together. Well, as black people, the reason why it's hard for you to come together because you don't think you're in war, right? But law enforcement officers all over this country have been given the green light to shoot us down. right? And because we constantly are acting like victims because we don't have that sense of warfare. So we haven't done the work of mastering the system. And after mastering the system, strategizing, because we've done none of that work, we're out there just like, subjugated people crying, asking people for help. I don't want us crying, asking nobody for help. I want us to understand that we are in a war. That brings us together. Understanding what we are in a war against. Master that, study that, do everything that's necessary so that we develop the genius to understand how this thing works and how they've been being able to do what they've been doing to us for over these 400 years. And then strategize after we get the information on how to move forward. Well, that's how I've operated in my life to this day. This is how I operate. We have to strategize, but you can't strategize because you refuse to do the work to learn. Why? Because you don't think you're in war. So you pacify. So somebody like me come tell you, listen, you in a war. I'm not talking about like a militant, let's go get some guns. Oh, man, come on. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about here. Here. Right? So I come and tell you in a war, and you like, well, where? Because you thinking about army and some soldier men. I'm talking about the war has escalated into here. How to keep you mentally blocked. Because if they can keep you mentally blocked, you'll keep yourself down, which has been the evidence. That has been the evidence. How have we not grown above what was going on in the 60s and before then? How have we not developed more wealth in this country? When other nationalities come over here and they strategize and develop some wealth. Because there's a system out there, right? Systemically operates against you with a war state of mind. And you don't know you're in war, but they think they're in war. And they continue to put things in proper places to keep you without, to keep you oppressed, to keep you down. Somebody's going to say, how did they do that? They've been doing it for hundreds of years. Why would you think they're going to stop? The only thing that could make them stop is that if we develop the amount of genius and strategy to come together and create something that makes that stop. I know it to be true. Because I keep operating in the things that I'm trying to teach you. And you keep thinking that it's done with smoke and mirrors. And I keep telling you it's not that it's done with smoke and mirrors. I just realize that I am in a constant state of war. And my mind constantly is thinking like that. So everything I'm doing, I'm strategizing. But I'm strategizing after I've learned the system. Every single African American, first priority in every household should be learn and master this system. Learn your opposition. Learn their movements. That should be the biggest priority. And that would be easy to see if you were woke, if you were aware that you are in war. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, when I am, to give you a perfect illustration, this family that I'm representing, my organization, not this time, they shot him point blank range in the back of his head, blew his whole face out. I'm fighting for this family from the beginning to the end. But when I go into fighting, I know policing. I know what they've done historically. I've mastered it, right? I've mastered how they think, their talking points, what they continue to do over and over again. So I go in with this information and I develop a strategy how to overcome that. I know they're going to deny the shooting. I know they're going to say their officers are not guilty and it was justifiable. Right? I know they're going to galvanize around one another, even whether the incident was unjust or just. These same behaviors will continue to happen. But I have mastery over the system because I've made it my business since a teenager to learn it, like my father taught me to. Right? So when they are operating a certain kind of way, there's so many things that they're missing. So the young Josiah got out of the car that was pulled over for a traffic stop. It's giving you a perfect illustration. He began to run, right? 5 officers run after him, and they grab him, and they say he has a gun, right? So they're showing a gun there. He doesn't have it like he's going to shoot police officers or like he pulled it out on anybody, but he has a gun. I'm just giving you a perfect illustration of how the system have been so confident in how they've been operating that there are holes in the way they've been operating. But if you don't understand the system, haven't learned them, haven't had mastery over how they move, they think, they operate, forward, backward, up, down, sideways, you will miss it. Right? So now, so they apprehend him, right? So there's a gun that's being all around, and he's kicking it, they're kicking it, all this kind of stuff, right? So towards the end of the video, both of his hands are on the ground, spread out like this. And they say, he's reaching. His last words were, I'm not reaching. And bam, they shot him in the back of the head, right? So the narrative from law enforcement is this was a violent criminal that had drugs on him who had a gun, right? And that narrative has won 99.9% of the time. But when you are in war and you have mastered the opposition, the system, and you studied them, you can develop, right, a strategy and a narrative. And there's always things. The scripture said, folly sets in great dignity. In other words, people are so confident that are in these positions of power, they don't realize that there's many holes that can be exploited in their narrative. So the first thing I recognized was this. When he got out of the car and law enforcement officers began to chase him, they said, the first thing they said to him is, we're going to shoot you. Stop, or we're going to shoot you. So I said, why would that be the first thing you would say to a person running from a traffic stop? Well, he was a criminal. He had a gun. He had drugs on him. I said, that's after the fact. I want to talk about before you understood that, before you got that evidence, before you even knew any of that existed. I want to talk about before then. Before then, all you know is that there was a man in a traffic stop that began to run from a car, right? Do you think that him running from the car deserves killing? Well, why was that the first thing that you said you was going to do to him? And if that was the first thing you said you were going to do to him, how do you think he responded to hearing what you're saying to him after knowing and seeing all over this country people shot in the back? Do you think that he's going to be like, oh my God, he's going to feel good? Or in his mind, is he going to think these people, these police officers, about to kill me? Can a person be in their right mind once you have concluded and told them and you have made believable all over this country that you will do exactly what you said you would do? Don't you think in his mind he's thinking, I'm about to get killed And I better do whatever I can, run as fast as I can to get the hell out of here. Can a person be in their right mind when they're at that point thinking that you're about to kill them? Right? I'm explaining to you because I have studied, because I have mastered how the system operates over a long period of time, I was able to confront their narrative with truth, right? And that's how I've been able to do through all of these other situations as well, right? Because they are so confident because they have utilized their positioning for so many years that have worked. And because you, as an African American, have not been in a constant state of warfare, realizing you are in war, studying the system and how it moves, being able to develop a strategy, we have continued to lose. All I'm saying is from every household, black and brown household, the first priority for the children, for everybody in the house, is to learn this system, to learn the opposition, to learn this system that has been an enemy through institutions that they have placed there to oppress us, marginalize us, disenfranchise us. But because we don't think that we are in a constant state of warfare, we don't talk to our children and explain to them why that is a priority. We don't talk to our relatives and amongst one another why this is a priority. We cede that over to the system. We give it to the system while we just go want to have some fun and entertainment, while we just want to go drink and get high, or while we just want to pursue or hedonism, which is the seeking of pleasure, because you don't think that you're in war. That is the biggest problem today. And it gets so discouraging to me. You know, sometimes I be thinking that there's enough information on the daily fires that I have out there already. And just allow that information to marinate over with anybody that wants to get the information. There's a lot of and enough information out there that I've put out there that would be a blessing to people. You know, because what I don't want to do is this constant over and over and over again trying to convince somebody. I'm not into convincing somebody. Either you hear it or you don't. The scripture says, my sheep know my voice and another they will not follow. You hear the truth and apply the truth and operate in the truth. So there's a constant thing in me that's always wrestling with the fact that I should continue to release to you this information that has cost me everything, that is of great value to me because of what it costs me to get the information. And I am delivering you the information for free because of my love for you, in the hopes that a remnant of you will get it, right? Just a remnant. That is my hope and my ultimate prayer, that a remnant of you will get this information. If a remnant of you is not getting the information, I guess that it would be probably reasonable for me not to give daily fires, right? Because I'm not pressed for friendship or conversation. You know, I'm not trying to press nobody to hear what I have to say, right? That's not what I need. I don't need that for my ego. I don't need that for anything because I value what I have to say and I refuse to devalue the information that I have. That's not going to happen. I don't have to be on here. I'm doing real work on the streets. I'm not talking about any work that I'm doing. I'm doing real work on the streets to impact our people, right? But I refuse to come before you every week or every other week, you know what I'm saying, and not feel that that the impact upon the information is benefiting you. Because like I say, there's a lot of information out there that I've maybe 4 or 5 months of Daily Fire that people can go over information that you've never heard before, that you can go over and over and over again. All I'm saying is why I am here, why you have the opportunity to get this free information. Don't take advantage. Don't think that this information is going to be there forever. Don't think that I'm going to be here forever, because I will get busier. And there might be a day that I won't do any more Daily Fires, right? So right now you're able to eat. You're able to come before the table is spread, and you're able to eat. And like I say, I'm here for the remnant only. And for that remnant is why I made the sacrifice to come and speak to you. Because before Daily Fires, I was just life coaching, $300 an hour. Just by life coaching. Giving some of the same information to my personal clients. And I decided out of sacrifice that I was more concerned at the time that I can get this information out and that it could stay online for a limited amount of time to empower whoever is looking for knowledge, whoever is looking for some information. Yeah. So all I'm saying is that take advantage of everything you can take advantage of while you can, right? Go over these Daily Fires, get this information, apply this information. Today, the information is there is nothing more important for our people than to study and have mastery over this system, to learn this system backwards and forwards. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nothing. Yet in our community, we have elevated entertainment above all things. We are not realizing that we are in a war. So we don't have a constant state of warfare in our minds. So we don't have the urgency to go do what's necessary to do because you don't feel that you're in war. While the system continues to operate with its mindset of warfare over communities of color. And you have accepted the place that they have placed us at. And I haven't. I refuse to allow the system to have any dominion over me. It will not. And not just because I say it, because I do the work to make sure it doesn't happen. To make sure every empire has fallen. None has stayed forever. Every one of them has fallen. Every one of them has fallen. And all I'm saying is that we as a people, if we don't develop that urgency, understanding who is the greatest opposition to us, and it has been this system for over 400 years, and we begin to have mastery over how the system operates, right? And then develop strategy to overcome it. That's what's required of our people. But we too busy laughing and playing while they still continue to drop bombs on us. Shoot us down on the streets. Drop bombs is a metaphor. You see? They're continuing to act towards us as we are the enemy through their policing, through their the justice system, through banking, through every area of life in this country. The black man is viewed as an enemy and treated as such. And woman. Povo, thank you. My God. And all I'm saying for black and brown people, it is necessary for us right now to do what the title of this Daily Fire says. Proclaim this to the nations. Prepare for war. The scripture says, in the days of John, the kingdom of God suffered violence, but the violent take it by force. It is not a physical violence. It is something that rises up in you, spiritually, consciously, right? That gives you that sense of urgency in your life. That keeps you in a constant state of warfare and strategy. that's necessary for us to overcome. If we don't develop that, no matter all this stuff out there that everybody continues to talk about, it will not work. It will not work. It is timing. And it is time now that we fix our minds to this state of war and recognize what's happening. It is just not an everyday thing that black men and women get shot down in the streets so constantly and effortlessly. It is because the system constantly is viewing us as an enemy and operating towards us with their state of war mind. You are not operating with a state of war mind. You are operating as a victim, crying for somebody to help you or stop doing it to you. They will never stop doing it to you until you learn how the system works and learn strategy and how to overcome it. We have not been operating with strategy because we don't know the system. We don't know the system is because we don't think we're in war. And because we don't think we're in war, we don't have a constant state of war mind, a constant state of warfare. That's the message in its entirety today. So I'm going to keep doing this work in the hopes that that remnant, when they're called upon, have already done the work that I've been talking about all these months, have done your work. Stop it with this laziness in your mind. Stop it. It's time for you to start doing the work. Okay? I'm just saying that there will come a time that that remnant will have to show. But you will have to have done your work, your homework. You can't be a novice in this. You have to have mastery over this. And we should already have it because we've been in this condition over 400 years. We've been in this condition. But it's troubling to me when something happens in our community and we react like that, and when the system does something, we're somehow shocked about what they're doing. We need to be on the other side of that. If something happens to our community, we know they're going to do it. We know what they're going to do. Have a response plan over here. Be so far ahead of the game over here. Because we already know their behavior and every type of move they're going to make. We already have that advantage. But you don't see it like that. Because we continue to react. I'm not reacting to, I know these people. I know what to do when they do what I already know they're going to do. I know what to do. And that's how I continue to operate. Right? So there's nothing more I can tell you, you know. That's how I feel right now. You know, I am. It's some discouraging stuff to me, man. I am discouraged about this lackadaisiness in our people. We just lax, man. Like, you know, I remember when when Dove and I was, started, not this time, and when we was doing 940, and we was going to folks and trying to have them sign the initiative, and you know what our folks was saying? A lot of them, oh man, I don't want to sign that. Ain't nothing gonna change. You've been beat down so much that they made you accept what they gonna do to you. Ain't nothing gonna change. That's what's in our minds. Man, ain't nothing gonna change. You don't think you in war. They beat you down. They've defeated you. And that's what our response is. That's the evidence that you feel that you've been defeated. That's the very evidence that you feel you've been defeated. Man, ain't nothing gonna change. Why should we do this? Man, sign this initiative. This initiative was done for our people. For people of color. Oh, man, ain't nothing gonna change. Okay, well, that one, he's been defeated. He ain't got nothing in him. right? I could have said that when they killed my brother. Oh man, ain't nothing I can do about it. Oh no, I was already in a state of war. I already knew I was in war, and I was already in a state of warfare. My mind was already in a state of warfare. I knew exactly what I was going to do when I got back to Seattle. I didn't think about it. I knew exactly what I was going to do. As a matter of fact, the Seattle Times did an article. What is the guy's name? Dan Wheatnett? I believe that's how he spelled his name. He did an article, and he was saying, did you know what you were going to do before you came? And I told him yes. Because he had looked at one of my sites and saw me talking about some things, and I talked about the law and who your real enemy is in my video, who's your real enemy. And I was explaining about some of the things that needs to happen and transpire. And this was in 2015. So in 2016, when I came here, when my brother was killed, I just did exactly what I said needed to be done. I'm not guessing right now. I talk to many people that are supporters, right? Some of my white friends that are supporters, that are real supporters who I love, you know? And I'm saying things to them that a lot of times it just doesn't register. It doesn't register to them because remember, I'm so far ahead, like 10 moves ahead. And plus, I have an urgency because these things are continuing to happen in my community. There's an urgency in me. This is happening right now. So I go in there with that urgency, and sometimes there's a feeling they can feel that from me, right? Like then I almost become the bad guy. I don't mind it, but I know they don't say it, but I know I can feel that sometimes. Like I'm pushy. I don't give a damn whether they think I'm pushy. My people are going through it right now. You talking about it, but my people are going through it. That's the difference. So there's an urgency for this thing to move on. I don't come talking like we're going to do this thing in 10 years. We can strategize for a lot of things that we'll achieve in 10 years. But I'm not waiting for 10 years for something to happen. We can strategize, and during 10 years, we'll have attainable goals that we reach. Right? But sometimes I'm talking to them, and I'm hearing something in them, and I'm already knowing they don't mean no harm, but they don't have that sense of urgency. Right? And I've studied this system. And I'm thinking about strategy that I've been developed in since I was a teenager. And I'm looking at them, telling them something, and they're talking to me, and they talk is like we concerned, and this is how we want to do it, but I'm talking with urgency. And sometimes when you're talking with urgency, people view that sometimes or misinterpret that as you being pushy or aggressive. I don't care. I don't care if you think I'm being pushy or aggressive. What I care about is that my people today, tomorrow, the next day, last week, next week, are going through these things right now. And they are my responsibility. Do you understand? So I'm not going in there like, I got time. I told him, like James Baldwin said, how much more time do you want? You done took my great-grandmother's time. You done took my grandma's time. You done took my mom and my dad's time. How much time you want? I can't give you no more time. I don't got no more time to give you. My people don't got no more time to give you. I'm just trying to get you guys to think with the state of war, recognizing that you're in war. So that your actions, right, are connected to your thought process. Because your actions, once you know you're in war, will make you go study the system, master the system, so that then we can strategize how to defeat the system. 940, the first police accountability law in the nation was strategized to get there. Of course, there was a lot of support around. Oh, from the Native community, from the Latino, from the disability rights, from Asian Pacific Islanders. There was support from everybody. but it took mastery in the beginning to get it to the point where people support. It took mastery, right? And everybody damn near questioned how I was operating from the beginning. And remember, I told you even black people in this city questioned how I was operating, right? A lot of pushback. But I couldn't worry about that. I had to do what I had learned to do for a long time and operate in that genius. And operate from that genius, develop a strategy, a temperament, a voice, a story, and develop a strategy to try to bring all people together. And that's your responsibility. Remember, I'm saying to every black and brown person, because you're not aware that you're in war, there is nothing more important to teach your kids, your family, your friends. There is nothing more important than to learn and master this system. Learn the opposition. Learn your enemy. There is nothing to be elevated above that. But because you have elevated entertainment and everything else above that, you have been conditioned to accept what they give you. Because they continue to operate in mastery with a state of warfare. The system is constantly, in every part of this world, in this country, constantly operating with a state of warfare. Their mind is in a state of warfare. They never relinquish that way of thinking. Never. Because they know in order to stay on top, they have to continue this way of thinking. Do you understand? So white supremacy was the genius that they created. And they have to continue that way of thinking in order for the mastery of white supremacy to continue to give them an advantage. And we have to study, have mastery over their thinking in order for us to develop a strategy and a genius to overcome and defeat white supremacy. And it's doable. I live it every day. But because you haven't done what's necessary, you think defeating white supremacy is an impossibility. Sure, white supremacy is, on their part, mastery. Look what it has done for Europeans all over this world. They have colonized and conquered 85% of the world. The only place that hadn't been colonized is China, Japan, and the Ottoman Empire. It was the genius that they developed from white supremacy. All I'm saying is that, why would they give that up? To appease you. Because you're crying because of what they've done to you and to us. Why? No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. We have to develop the genius that overcomes white supremacy. Where white supremacy has no more effect. It is genius that have to be developed, right? Where it has no more effect. But you have to study it to learn its weak areas, its Achilles heel. You have to study it to learn the holes in it so that you can develop a genius and a mastery and a strategy how to overcome it. And I'm trying to teach you the process of how that happens. And I know I'm being very repetitive today because I want to get this in your system in the hopes that the remnant will get it, in the hopes that the remnant will understand. All right. This is important stuff. It's very simplistic. Today, the message said, proclaim this to the nations. Prepare for war, black people. Prepare for war. And the first thing you must do is to elevate in war the opposition above all things, the enemy above all things, and the mastery of learning him should be elevated above all things. And until we as a people understand that, we will be in no competition against this system of white supremacy. So for the people out there that's hearing this, or probably will hear this later, my hope is that a remnant of you will get this information, understand what I'm saying, and prepare for war. Because it's timing, and it is a time right now for you to operate in this. Make sure that you like this video, because I see there's 53 likes, 92 people listening. Unfortunate that YouTube did not sound the message to let people know the video was on. That's unfortunate, because we normally have over 200 people in the room that could also share this video. So I'm charging the 92 of you in the room to share this video so that other people could hear it. Our people need to hear this message. I couldn't stop and wait because the message was too powerful. It'll do what it's supposed to do, right? But I'm asking the 92 people, 91 people in here to share the video, and so other people can could hear it. Everybody didn't get a notification. I don't know what YouTube is doing. A lot of times, you know, when they start seeing information like this, you know, they start doing weird stuff. But at any rate, they can't stop anything. Let me take a couple questions before I leave. Thank you, Ace, for sharing it. Take a couple questions before I leave, you guys. Thanks, Helena, for sharing. If you guys don't got no questions, you're going to have to email for me, K. Holston. You have to email me for the 501c3. Andre, A-N-D-R-E-L, as in Larry Taylor, T-A-Y-L-O-R. My plan for this new year is what I've already been doing, conquering and taking dominion over systems. The fire in paradise. I'm not sure what that is, but yes, the judgment has begun. The judgment starts in the house of God first. Yeah, they are caught up in so much social media. Judah, Israel, listen, I don't want to get legalistic about holidays and all that. Christmas to me is, I explained to people before, I had a dream and the Most High spoke to me in a dream and said Merry Christmas to me. And what I was shown is that a promise fulfilled is Christmas. So Merry Christmas is a promise fulfilled. At any time of the year is a Merry Christmas. People have certain things that they celebrate with them and God, something that God does for them that they want to pay homage to God once a year for, whatever that is personally to them. That could be a holiday. So I don't get into all that stuff. How can we be cohesive? Unpack that. Well, better than the books, bro, is these daily fires, you know? You get these daily fires. I know I'm probably going to have to read another book, but I thought it's always better if people could see me speak what I'm speaking and they could visualize everything, you know? But I'm probably going to have to write a book to put some more of this information in a book. But I like coming before you said you can get it, and while it's on Facebook, you can go over as many times as you want, and you can hear it, and you can hear the expressions when I'm saying certain things. I thought it would be more powerful. Some of the steps is begin to learn about the system. You know, you got to learn about how the system works. You got to do your homework. You know, learn the system. Yes, they are, Tony. That's right, Dove. What's the first step from transitioning from victim to conquer? Your mindset, your state of mind. You know, will you take the daily fires down after a while off YouTube? No, I think I'm gonna leave it up there, bruh. You know, I think I'm gonna leave them up there for people who, you know, for later on for people. There's so much information on there, man. There's probably some people out there trying to write a book off the information that I have on Daily Fire, but it won't be smart because I have attorneys right on them. Don't plagiarize anything that I'm saying. You gotta be love. Be the love. You want to bring Tony, bring love back to our community. You be the love first. We show people what that looks like. Sorry, I meant, can you walk in and out of a courtroom without an attorney in a criminal case? If you are trying to represent yourself, I think that's what you're trying to say. You need to unpack that because I don't know what else is behind that. Obviously, you're asking me that question for a reason. If you want to email me and talk to me about it, you can. Of course. Remember, we don't want to send people to war fractured by self-hate. So a part of that warfare state of mind that you have to have a love for your people. Normally when people in war, it brings people together. Get busy with the information that you gave me because I canceled things just to catch you. No, pretty much I'm going to do daily fires and I will let you guys know ahead of time if I'm going to stop, right? The only times I can't do them is if something arises like this last shooting of the Samoan and I have to deal with their family, right? So this Samoan brother, they came ask for our help, so we're gonna go help them. So I've been so busy with that, making sure that we're fighting against that narrative the media puts out there, and fighting for this family that's broken and stuff, So if I don't do a daily fire, just understand I'm out there doing the work. That's the only reason I won't do it. I'm out there actually doing the work. My consultation fees is $300 an hour. If you go to gorgeousdre.com, you can donate through my PayPal account, gorgeousdre.com, GORGEOUSDRE.com. What's a direct area of focus a young man should focus on mastering to negate the system? Well, let me tell you this. The Daily Fires is a great blueprint for your own confidence of knowing who you are that will give you the temperament in dealing with the system, because you have to have a certain temperament, right? And that's not anger. So the Daily Fires will prepare you, as you go do that research in dealing with the system. The information that we've shared in Daily Fires will ultimately prepare you as you go in to start mastering and having mastery over how the system operates, Yeah, that's powerful, Tony Williams. What I'm trying to say is, as a man, we need to learn how to get through the court system with an attorney. I've done this and been successful. Yes, I agree. We prepare for war, period. Remember, it's the state of mind. So the dream of 2019 that the Most High gave me, he did not say, now remember, I don't know how that's going to be manifested. I don't know the interpretation of that. I just told all you guys exactly how he gave it to me. And I put it in my book, The Road to Paradise. So I don't know, he didn't tell me how that's going to be manifested. I don't know if it's going to be interpreted into something. I just know something very clear, that the world it's going to be witnessed by the world. It's going to be very clear, right? I don't know if it's going to be an actual star that comes down here. I know what I seen. I'm just telling you guys how I seen it, and he hasn't told me anything other than that. So, but you always want to prepare, because I seen myself in 2020 doing some powerful things. So the world ain't going to end. It might be some devastation somewhere that happens. You know what I'm saying? That could be the beginning of something. But I didn't see the world ending, nothing like that, because I saw myself in 2020 doing something, that I'm going to start something real big in 2020. So let me see. Love is not being submissive. The scripture said God is love, and God is also a consuming fire. How much do I love you? I love you guys, and I'm on here, but, that doesn't mean that I'm, a pushover. I fight for you guys every day because I love you. Fighting for these families, I fight for you guys because I love you. Give you this information because I love you. But you guys know I ain't no pushover, never been. Yeah, there is, I just want to say this. There is, the scripture says in, and I know all of you guys might not believe in that, but that's fine. The scripture talks about in Genesis, I believe 14, 15 or something. The scripture talks about that Abraham was put into a deep sleep because the Most High wanted to show him what's going to happen to his descendants. He said, your descendants will be brought into a foreign land that's not their own and be enslaved there for 400 years, treated bad, right? But afterwards, I will bring them out, I will punish the nations that have done this to them, and I will bring them out into a wealthy place. So that's some type of reparations. So I think that the 2019 is the beginning of the punishment of the nations that have benefited from slavery. This is what I believe in my heart. I believe because it coincides with the prophetic message in Genesis, right? And then it also coincides with 1619 when the first slaves were brought, when the first enslaved people were brought here in Jamestown. So I believe that it's prophetic, and I believe that the 1619 at Christmas time, this Christmas, is going to be the beginning of the punishment of those nations that have benefited from the slave trade. That's what I believe. Yeah. Exactly. The Islamic and the transatlantic. Exactly. Transatlantic. When it comes to being big, how do you draw the line between what is necessary to reach to and what is not? Okay, unpack that, because I'm not clear about what you're saying there. When it comes to being big, what do you mean by that? When it comes to being big, big, what is that big predicated upon? Yeah, but it's not so much the black man and the black woman putting differences aside. Once the black man and the black woman understand that it's a war against black people, those differences normally are always put aside, right? Because the most important things are brought to the forefront, to the focus. Right now, our people don't think that we're in a state of war, so there's everything that is eclipsing this state of war, this state of warfare, this state of warfare that we should be in. So all these other things are eclipsing where we should be as a people right now, right? So there's no urgency, there's no studying and mastering of the system, there's no strategy, there's none of that. And once people understand, our people understand that we are definitely in war and have always been in war, then there's a different mental shift, and that begins to be elevated because the war is against all of us, right? And has been. It's not just started. It has been. It's because we stopped with that type of consciousness, with that type of thinking, that word came forth today, proclaim this to the nation, prepare for war. We are not in a war state of mind. That's why all this other stuff has eclipsed where we should be. That's why we have the problem between one another, the killing of one another. All this stuff is all predicated upon our lack of our state of mind of recognizing and being aware that we are in war. That's right. Somebody said, when someone hits your sister, you forget all your grudges and stuff she did to you, and you defend her right. This is to say, exactly. That's beautiful how you explain that. Beautiful. Yes. Yes. All them other things will subside. All the issues and the problems that the black community has, they will all subside because we will elevate. We are in war above everything. And then once our minds are in that place of realization that we are in war, there's an action that comes from that state of mind. Right? And that's where I'm trying to share with you that black people should be. That's where I'm at. Yeah, a little bit downstairs. Yeah. And I just need us all to be on that same mind. I ain't got no time to be worrying about what such and such said and what she and he said. Because I'm thinking about they against all of us. But we don't believe that. We don't think that we are in war. The realization must kick in. All this stuff is happening, it still hasn't clicked into us. You know? Yeah. Couple more questions, fam. One of the ways is through the information that we've been sharing for about 5 months. At this time, all of you that have been listening to this information, if you are applying this information, operating in this information, that information is supposed to develop something inside of you. You're supposed to be prepared for the information I'm giving the next week. And a lot of these things shouldn't be foreign to you anymore because your mind has expanded. You know what I'm saying? Your ability to see and to comprehend is supposed to expand according to the information that I've shared. And you're supposed to be operating in that information. I'm just delivering to you, proclaiming to you that it's a time for war. Prepare for war. And how I'm explaining it to you. Well, bless God. I'm just a vehicle over here being used. But I'm in my position. I'm just trying to get my other brothers and sisters in position so that we can strike in unity as one. Oh, we're gonna strike, but it's gonna be strategic, right? It's gonna be strategic. I'm striking right now. You guys see the work? I'm continuing to strike right now. And nobody could stop it because it's timing, it's God's time. That's why I'm telling you, prepare for war. So you have the opportunity before a lot of other people because you have about 5 months of daily fires of information that you have that you haven't been privy to. Information that you haven't been privy to, that you have now. So I charge you, if you hear this information, to begin to apply this information. You know, there's a lot of people that just want to keep hearing stuff, and never want to apply what they hear. Yeah. YPC Pops. Thank you for that 20, fam. So yeah, you got to apply the information and continue to apply. And out of all the people that have listened these 5-6 months, I hope there's a remnant of you that have applied it. It's all in the application, like Dove said in what she wrote earlier. You got to apply this stuff. A lot of people can sit here and listen. But if you don't apply it, then you're going to miss it. Yeah, folks, I'm really disappointed that everybody wasn't alerted. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know, like I said, it's just this Facebook stuff. So make sure you guys share the video so all those people that didn't get a chance and an opportunity to see it will get their opportunity, right? So make sure you guys are sharing this. Yeah, I'm gonna have some more guests, but again, I got to be strategic with that. I gotta feel out who I want to have in here next, but I'm gonna have some more come on. So I'm gonna leave it right there. I love you guys, man, and again, do me a favor, share the video since people weren't notified with this video. They need to hear that this is very, very important, right? So